watched a couple of his interviews, and then I got a call from him. First thing I asked was like, what's the mission behind it? And he explained to
Were
me
you a
that
little bit surprised that Gordon Ryan wasn't helping towards a movement of overall grappler pay, or do you think that is in alignment with the type of person he is?
I can't say who's going to be there next, but maybe a couple
Oh,
of
you know.
comes in, he'll be.
Or was there certain aspects of like favoritism within ADCC that kind of rubbed you the wrong way in the lead up? Jiu-Jitsu fans, I am being joined by Victor Hugo, who's a little over a week away from his next match happening over there in Austin, Texas, June 20th for WNO 24. He just told me he got done doing some Jiu-Jitsu teaching classes at 6 a.m. So are you feeling the dopaminergic energy? Are you feeling good, Victor?
Oh yeah, it's a great start of the morning. I didn't train, but just to get there and teach some jiu-jitsu, give these people, like something good to start their day. I just feel like they feel energized, and I just imagine themselves like in a environment where no one practices jiu-jitsu, and probably they can figure out why is this guy so happy, why nothing, why he's not stressed out this early. Probably because he got choked out 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. So it's just a cool thing, Oftentimes I do this class when I'm in camp just because it helps me get up early and have a purpose, and then it just gets me started for the day. Like it's good vibes. I love my students. I love being on the mats. So sometimes I train with them, sometimes not. But even to wake up and just teach some jiu-jitsu right off the bat is just like perfect.
Yeah, you're getting that big man flow on early on in the morning. Also, it helps, I'm sure, even if you're not training, you're teaching and kind of getting those mental reps in preparation for Luke Griffith coming up. So what are you excited about when it comes to that matchup?
So, Alex, this is not live, but Luke pulled out. So I was gonna tell, I'm not
No.
supposed to say it, but he pulled out. So it's not happening. We're changing the opponents. I think they're gonna announce today.
Okay.
So let's just skip it all. Like, let's just skip it like maybe towards something else.
Yeah. Oh my
But they should
gosh.
be announcing today. I got the news like last Wednesday, so we've been working on a replacement. So I just think it's better we avoid for now. So
Wow. So it's kind of up in the air who your next opponent will be, but I'm sure that doesn't really change too much in your own regimen when it comes to, who you're preparing for.
I was definitely super excited to face Luke. Before we actually signed the match, a lot of people didn't know him. So the timing of the match was perfect because he ended up beating Kynan on the build up for a match. So a lot of people got even more excited about us facing each other. But it is what it is. Like I think I still want to get out there and like get some like some reps in. I have a huge tournament in August, and I think the more mat time I have, it's best. It's better. Be able to compete, be able to be out there, like feeling the adrenaline. I think is important. I'm not a guy that's competing every month or something like that every weekend. So for me, it's important, every 3 months to be out there. You kind of like, you go through a camp, you go through the stress, and then at the end you go through the good feeling that is to win. So I like to go to that cycle over and over, even whenever I have a bigger tournament on my year. So having this match in June now will be important for my build up to the CJI. And we're still working on opponent, but it is what it is. We're gonna find someone new, and the goal doesn't change. The goal is to go out there and like show some big man flow.
And you mentioned CJI, which we're going to dive deeper into. But just for this upcoming event, Luke Griffith had to pull out. What is your instant reaction when you get a fighter pulling out from the event? Like, do you ever feel like it's like, oh, well, is he pulling out because he's scared, or is there something really that went wrong? Like, what is your initial reaction when you hear that news?
Well, definitely, as someone that wants to compete, you definitely get a little sad, like you put in the work, and it's not like a tournament. A tournament, when you're preparing, you can face anyone. So if someone pulls out, you're probably gonna have eight more opponents that you'd be looking for to compete against. When it's a single match, you kind of like, you get a little frustrated because you're being like working towards, beating that person. So finding a replacement and all that stress is kind of something that, us jiu-jitsu guys, I think we're not as used to. I think MMA is probably like more focused and like more ready to that thing. But I think even though I'm not getting to face him this time, I worked on some parts of my game that made me ready and prepared to fight him. So whenever that happens, I'll be ready. And yeah, you definitely get a little frustrated, but you definitely think, oh man, what happened? But a guy on his caliber, I know he's not scared. He got hurt. He trains with high level people. I know that happens. I get hurt oftentimes. I'm the type of guy that whenever I get hurt, I try to push to the very end to get to a fight. I have competed injured before, but I'm on the same side of that. I know it's hard to step out there when you're not like 100%, and whenever you face someone at such a high level as me, you want to make sure they're in 100% because you don't know when you're going to have the shot again. So I totally understand his decision. It just sucks because everyone wanted to see that match, but we're both young. We'll see each other out there. I think he's a brown belt still, so maybe I'll get to be one of his first matches on a black belt, like I did with Nick Rod. That was Nick Rod's first black belt match. So yeah, it is what it is. You kind of get a little frustrated, but I've been on the other side too. I've been hurt. I don't recall myself pulling out for any match, but I got super close to it. I have definitely skipped turns because I was injured. So it happens to everyone. You can control what happens. Like God forbid, but I'm 10 days out. It could happen to me myself. So who am I to judge? I'm just here ready to face someone else and get this thing going.
And a matchup with Luke is also a teammate of a guy that you've beaten in Big Dan. You did it on UFC Fight Pass Invitational. So has there been a particular promotion that you really enjoy competing for?
Well, for me, who's number one is always a great event because I think like if you're in grappling, you definitely heard of it, and there is such a status on it right now. Like if you're part of the event, people think highly of you, and like jiu-jitsu is heading towards a direction that sometimes people pay more attention on what's happening on the super fight events than the actual tournaments. If they're specific about competing, if they like competition, then they'll know about the tournaments, they'll know who is winning the brackets and stuff like that. But overall, the public, I think they've been paying attention more to the events like this because they're more, how can I say, viewership friendly because it's a thing that's set. It's a set date. It's a set time. So you have a card, eight fights, 10 fights. Victor fights a certain time, so it's so much easier for someone to follow. So it builds more, of like that excitement. Like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? Like, oh, we're gonna watch who's number one. You never see like unless they're really into it, like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, we're gonna watch Pan Ams. It's gonna be 12 hours of black belt fights, and you're gonna hang out at the house all day. So it's not really a thing. So having those events actually help us putting our names out there. So being part of Who's Number One and UFC Fight Pass, it's been amazing for me to just grow my brand and have more people watch me. I think a lot of people know me as the Victor Hugo, the guy that competes IBJJF, but I don't like to see myself as that. I think I'm a guy that competes everywhere and gets the work done. So it's just an amazing opportunity for me to show my work and get more of my brand out there. I think even more here in North America, a lot of people doesn't know me yet. In Brazil itself, there's a lot of people that don't know me. So having being part of this huge cards with huge names in it has been helping me a lot, and also being a big name on those cards.
And in 2021, you decided to make the move to Austin, Texas. Was that because of all the jiu-jitsu that's there or flow grappling being there? And how has that affected your jiu-jitsu and your lifestyle?
Well, back in 2020, I had to leave California because we couldn't train, like during COVID and stuff. It was super hard to get training in. So we decided to move away. I ended up moving to Oklahoma first because my sensei was moving to Austin, but he had no setup here. He didn't have a school or anything. So I spent kind of like almost a year in Oklahoma training and like competing. I competed a lot that time. I was probably one of the most active competitors back in 2020, 2021.
Did you like
And then
Oklahoma?
it was fun because, like I got to train a lot. Like California, like you want to go to the beach, you want to do stuff like that. In Oklahoma, I
Exactly.
had really like tough training, so it was train, recover, train again, and it was perfect because I actually something weird happened back in 2020, 2021, where the competitors that usually come to America to compete from different countries, they couldn't get here. So the promoters had to use a lot of like the same guys, and I was one of them. So I was super busy. So it was perfect for what I needed. And like it went by fast because I was traveling a lot competing too. And I moved here in 2021 to train with Shanji. His school was about to be ready, and it was just like great. Like I think he was one of the first people that moved here. I'm not sure if he moved before or right as Joe Rogan moved here. So after he moved here, everyone started moving here, and this scene just grew. Like flow grappling was here already and all this stuff. So we just got a nice setup, and man, I love it here. Like since we moved here, jiu-jitsu in town just grew, and Shanghai has a huge school. I have my own school nowadays, and just the city breathes jiu-jitsu, so it's a great place to be if you do jiu-jitsu, if you leave from jiu-jitsu. And yeah, it was a great choice. I love California, but Austin definitely is my place now.
And what part of California were you in when you were in California?
I lived in San Diego for about 5 years. That's where I landed in America. So Never been to America before. First place I went was San Diego, and
Wow.
it was really lucky of me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm thinking about moving to San Diego. It's just so expensive, but I'm happy that your experience of America was initially through San Diego.
Yes, and also, they have great jiu-jitsu out there, great food. It was just a great place to live. But I think for where I am in my career right now, Austin ended up being a perfect spot.
Yeah, yeah. No, Austin is definitely a hub. It's a great place to have a home base, especially if you're in jujitsu. But I do see that you still like to travel, especially that jujitsu lifestyle, doing seminars. And I see that you're going to my home people's place in the Philippines, November. You
Oh,
have a nice little, I think it's like a jujitsu seminar that you'll be doing there. So can you tell me a little bit about
yes.
that and why the Philippines?
I got the people organizing the camp, Grappling Holidays. They reached out to me, and it's just gonna be, an amazing opportunity to go see a little bit of a little couple of my friends, and also like my fans in Philippines. I was actually in Philippines back as a brown belt, and I taught a couple seminars there, and they had good attendance. I made good friends. I think I spent close to a week there, and it was just a great time. And it's been what 6 years since I was there, so I look forward to go back out there. I think a lot of people remember me, and more people
Aw.
know me now. So it's just a great opportunity to, do some jiu-jitsu, being on an island, enjoy the amazing weather. Last time I was in Philippines, I actually didn't got to go to the beach. So I was in Manila for most of the time teaching and training. So this time maybe more like a relaxing time. As I said, in August, I'm gonna go for everything, like I'm gonna push it really hard to this camp all the way to August. In August, I'm gonna have this huge tournament. So after that, to be more like, a chill vibe. It would be great to go to Philippines, teach some jiu-jitsu, hang out with the people there. I haven't been to Asia in a while, so that's actually an overdue trip. I haven't been like traveling as much, so I think whenever you decide to build something, like you have to focus on it. And back in 2021, I decided to really like build my brand here in America, build businesses, kind of like grow my brand, get more fights. So kind of like got tunnel vision on that, and I didn't got to travel as much besides Brazil. So I think it'll be a perfect timing for me to just go to Asia, like see my fans there. It kind of like show a little bit of the big man flow. I've been showing a lot of big man flow in America and Brazil, so time to spread it out like on the other side of the planet. So yeah, it'll be a great opportunity. And I love Philippine food too. That's another point.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for
Yeah.
you. It's funny, the big man flow in the Philippines, there's not too many big Filipinos, but I'm sure they'll still appreciate it all the same.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can play small man game too, so it
yeah.
works perfect.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm so excited for you that you're going to have a nice little celebration trip after your next huge, massive tournament with CJI. I mean, what CJI is doing is absolutely incredible, and I feel like it really takes the champions of the sport to be on board with it. Something that Craig Jones says is that this tournament wouldn't hit as well. The point wouldn't come across as well if it was just, a bunch of new purple belts who haven't really broke onto the scene that are joining it. But if the champions all come together and really get behind the mission of CJI, and you said one of the first things that you wanted to know from Craig when offered the invite was, what is the mission for CJI? So can you tell me about that conversation and what initially was the aha moment of like, okay, I have to be a part of this?
Yeah, so whenever he started posting about it, I wasn't sure what was it about. I wasn't sure if I would think it was actually real, but the tech is joining in, and I was kind of, huh. And then I actually got to watch a couple of his interviews, and then I got a call from him. One second. So whenever I got a call from him, first thing I asked was like, it's kind of like us uniting for better treatment of the fighters, like the jiu-jitsu grappling on the jiu-jitsu grappling industry. And when I say that, I don't say that I've been mistreated or anything like that. Actually, made it pretty clear that nowadays I have a really like comfortable life in jiu-jitsu. I have my business. I'm pretty active, competing. But the mission is, to kind of like make it better for the generations that are coming after us. That means more transparency, more equity on like the opportunities. I think like there's a lot of talent out there that is still kind of like unknown. So to those guys, you kind of like have a chance to kind of like compete, and not only compete for a chance to make a living, but as they're competing at a high level, be able to make a living. That was kind of like one of the things that we discussed. And all those things combined, for me was a great opportunity, like just to stand up for the athletes a little bit, kind of like showing that we can also, compete against each other pretty hard. We can also like unite for something good. I'm not saying that, this is bad for the athletes or anything like that, but a chance like that where we can, unite together and kind of like Craig is organized, he has the organizers, but honestly, the build up for this tournament has been the athletes themselves. Like big names join in, for different reasons. And as I said, I made it clear that for me, it's just important to be there so I can support his idea on kind of like make it better for the for the next generation of grapplers that come around. Make this sport more professional, giving more opportunities to everybody. Like instead of like picking favorites, make sure that we always cycling through stars, always promoting new stars and all this stuff. So I think it would just be a great opportunity for grappling overall. It will probably be the biggest weekend in grappling because you're gonna have ADCC and CJI happening the same weekend, which some people think is like, oh, it sucks and stuff like that. But if you're a fan, you're gonna be able to watch both tournaments pretty much. You have us Friday, Saturday. You have the finals on Sunday. A lot of people criticize him for picking the same day as ADCC, but if you stop to see, it's actually like a pretty smart decision because there's going to be a lot of people in Vegas already to watch Jiu-Jitsu. So it sucks to be on the same day and have to split the athletes, but I don't think he would have got as much, attention as he got if it wasn't for the same day. Of course, he would have some attention for the fact that it's $1 million, but putting on the same day kind of gave him like that op version. Oh, he's the opposite. Like let's see what this guy has to talk about and why he took this crazy decision of putting on the same day. And that's what's giving him a lot of traction. And for me nowadays in the sport, of course we still have our values, but in a sport where everyone promotes trash talking, this each other, you kind of could see that coming, right? Like no one's kind of like protected. I'm not protected. I could be here now, not right now, and someone could, start talking trash and find a way to find a match with me, like find a way to like face me. So the way that the sport is headed, you can't take anything in our discussion. So having the event on the same day was something that no one was expecting, but I don't think is the worst thing that has happened as far as like what the sport has been having lately with like we have seen big stars of the sport slap each other in the face. We have seen some people like finding ways to promote the match, like talking bad on somebody. So having a Craig putting on the tournament on the same day as a DCC, I don't see as much as an offense as I have seen before, and like lately on the industry. That's just
Yeah.
the way I see it. If it makes sense.
Exactly. Booking on the same weekend definitely made it so fighters had to make a choice. Was there any point of this process where you were having to make the choice where you were a bit skeptical and maybe a little bit fearful of the backlash that you might get from the ADCC organizers or being able to compete with them again? Like, what was the thought process before, being on the forefront and a little bit of a spokesperson for Grappler Pay?
Yeah, definitely, but I'm lucky enough to be surrounded with people, with good mentors outside and inside of Jiu-Jitsu. And for all of them, it made sense for me to make the switch. It was really hard for me because, as I said, I skipped World's Gi this year, a tournament that means a lot to me. To specifically doing DCC, I actually had a whole interview talking about how I was going to skip Gi Worlds to do ADCC, and letting go of ADCC to do CJI was something, that I had to rethink because for me it's legacy too, I'm a black belt absolute world champion in gi. I'm a black belt absolute world champion in no gi by IBJJF. So having the absolute ADCC would make it like, it would take me to a spot where very few people have those three titles. So it's definitely something I still, aim for. But at this time, I think it was time for me to stand up for something bigger than myself and bigger than my legacy, bigger than my goals. Um, so it was a hard decision, but I think they're taking it. The ADCC took it professional. Like I messaged them, we're in a good terms. I might end up to having to do the trials again. Actually, I never did the trials. I actually got invited, so I might actually have to do the trials for the first time, which is not a problem. I think it would just be a good opportunity. If I end up having to do trials for their next event in 2 years, it will actually be a good opportunity for me to get more hours in under the ADCC rules because if I stop to see, I only fight ADCC rules like every 2 years. I'm mostly fighting, sub only or IBJJF. So having to do trials won't be the worst thing ever. Actually, it should be a good build up for me within the rules. And yeah, it is what it is. I for sure I expected some backlash, but what I got was a lot of support. A lot of the grappling the grappling fans. They're just supported my statement, supported my decision. It was actually surprising. It was probably like 95 supported, five kind of like argued about it. So it was actually amazing to see the support I received, and I think people kind of get why I made the change, and they're like buying in. They're supporting my vision walking into this tournament, and it makes almost me forget there's also $1 million in the table for that.
Yes, the money definitely plays a huge part. But when we look back at ADCC, before all of this transpired, was your goal to double gold in ADCC?
Definitely, yes. I was going for double gold. This is something I was visualizing over and over. My whole training since I won the double gold in the gi worlds last year. I took the gi off probably like in September, and since then I've been just like visualizing, working, trying to fill up the gaps towards ADCC. And it was going to be a marathon of fights too. So building my conditioning, working a power athlete that's who takes care of my strength and conditioning, kind of like building the capacity to be ready for such like a long tournament. And yeah, so I was definitely going for both of them. I'm a guy that you bet, kind of like you rarely you see me skipping an absolute. And I believe for my division was one of the favorites, one of the top seeds. And letting go of that to go to another tournament, it was something that if you told me probably, travel back in time, tell me like in 5 years you're gonna have to drop out of DCC. You're gonna be one of the favorites to do a random tournament, like being that CJI. And then I wouldn't expect that. So it's crazy that I made the change, but I'm really happy with it. I'm in peace with it, and I look forward to be back to DCC. I think I'll have another chance at it. I'm 27 right now. I still have time to make a couple runs, but this time around, I'm locked in with CJI.
And another grappler that has been very vocal about wanting to double gold in ADCC is Nicholas Marigali. He's definitely staying with ADCC, it'll look like. Do you feel like with the news of CJI and taking some of the top seeds from that division, that it permanently puts an asterisk on ADCC 2024 as not exactly as prestigious as it could have been, considering they took out some of the top seeded grapplers?
I think it goes both ways because now if you divide the division, you know, you can win CJI and people say, "Oh, you won," but Marigali is not there. So there's all the guys that's not there. Luke Griffith is not there. So are you really like the best? Or same thing at DCC, like I'm not gonna be there, Nicky Rod won't be there for the plus 99 division, the absolute. So it kind of puts kind of like that weight onto the both of the tournaments. But at CJI, you might win and not be considered the best at a time because you didn't face, like all of the best guys are in the bracket. But at least at the end, you're gonna be a millionaire. If you
Yes.
look at that in that way.
A
But other
millionaire
than
with
that,
a bunch of money on the Philippines, on the beaches of the Philippines. That sounds pretty nice.
yes. So there's one way to look at it. The other way too is like even though I think if you get specific about it, you see that there's a lot of matchups that would have been great that won't happen because of the division, like how it's divided. I think what would stand out the most is how everyone's going to perform. If Nicholas go there to DCC and has an amazing performance, submits everybody, I think they'll kind of like put a little bit of like kind of like people won't remember as much that not everyone that is like super tough is there. Like his performance will kind of outshine what happened walking into an event. Same thing as CGI. If I walk into CGI and I have a great performance, I don't think people will be, thinking about as much. Oh, I don't think so and so was there. They just think about, oh man, that dude looked great. Like it was probably his best form ever. If there was to be somebody there, how would it have been? But I think you still have a chance to just perform great, and silence all the doubts by just performing great and beating. Because even though you don't have, all those like big names together in the same event, there's still some tough guys that are really hard to do stuff with. That if you're able to like have good performances, you're still gonna have a lot of credit for winning that day, if that makes sense.
And in other breaking news for the June 20th card, that you will be on. Gordon Ryan was recently added to that card as well. When it comes to kind of the face of ADCC, Gordon Ryan is definitely holding that crown at the moment. Were you a little bit surprised that Gordon Ryan wasn't at all helping towards a movement of overall grappler pay, or do you think that is in alignment with the type of person he is?
The way I see it is that's the I think on his mind he has helped the sport, on the fighter pay on the event somehow, and that's the way that he wants to give his help. Like I think each person can help in certain way. The way that he has helped, I'm just saying my version of it. I think the way that he thinks that he has helped is by doing the things that he does, promoting himself the way that he does, fighting the way that he does. He's a really exciting guy to watch compete. He has a really high sub rate. He dominates people when he gets on the mat. So you know I'm not. He's not really like vocal about it as much, but he has made the sport grow. I'm not sure if on is it was his interest to make it grow so it make it better to everyone, but to himself. Like I'm not sure like if it was by just like not by accident, but one of the things that happened. In order for him to be who he is, achieve what he have achieved. He with him he brought the whole grappling world up. When it comes to people getting to know what jiu-jitsu is, more people watching, more people getting excited about grappling. I think even if you want you can't kind of like discredit him from that. He has done that, but I'm not sure if he actually on the back of his mind that was his goal. No, I'm gonna bring this whole thing up so help everyone. I think he was definitely looking to grow his brand, doing that. But he brought everyone up. But now like now we get into a point where we also have other stars on the sport. So having those stars uniting in order to something that will help the next generation is actually something great. I think Gordon is still gonna be Gordon. He's still gonna move millions of people, move thousands of people to watch jiu-jitsu. That's great. But having a second or a third current of like champions and like big names that are also doing stuff to elevate the sport is also something great. So I really see him as something really important for the grappling, even more than Nogi. If it wasn't for what he has done, I don't know if Nogi would be as big as it is today. But now we're hitting a stage where more stars have arisen in the Nogi grappling and actually the grappling scene. So seeing how each person or how like specific groups are going to use their traction to make changes in the sport, but change for the better, it will be interesting to see. That's what I want to see. I'm 100% sure he's not like behind the idea of CJI, but still like he's not behind CJI. He's promoting ADCC, and somehow they'll help us too. Like ADCC growing will help the whole Nogi grappling community, just as like CJI growing will help the grappling community as well.
Yeah, this healthy competition, I think, is great for the growth of jiu-jitsu in general, as long as we can avoid some death threats, that get a
Yeah.
little bit out of hand. I know something that you
This is
mentioned.
becoming more and more like a rap diss. We
It really
got to the
is.
death threats before we got to the diss tracks.
Yes,
How did that happen?
it's escalated quickly. I do remember you saying in your interview with Seth that something you appreciate about the movement of CJI is the transparency they're looking to incorporate with their brand, no paywall. So when it comes to another complaint that I know from other grapplers, Craig had Fion Davis on his El Segundo podcast, and they kind of just talked about the professionalism or lack thereof when the promoter is super best friends or shows favoritism towards certain grapplers. So was that something that was also on your mind when it came to choosing CJI, or was it mainly just the transparency and the no paywall that you were like, okay, this is why I like CJI? Or was there certain aspects of like favoritism within ADCC that kind of rubbed you the wrong way in the lead up?
Not only like like not ADCC specifically, but the whole industry. Like I think right now, like right at this moment, we're seeing that fade away a little bit more. But if you look back at 3 years ago, I was like struggling to get a match. Like always been the same names, and a couple of the reason why is that would happen is there were certain names that would tend to be more favored for certain promotions. And also, I stood up for myself when it comes to know my value. Like I think my value is this. and I won't go there if you can match the value because it won't is not interesting opportunity for me, or you can go out there and make yourself a name. Yeah, but like making myself a name right now won't pay my bills. So I actually need something that will, help me, live out of this. So standing that way kind of like, got me kind of like on the back seat when it comes to a couple promotions, being able to get fights, be able to be out there. So I wish I was more busy back then. Meanwhile, there was some people that they were getting well paid. They had their name out there, and for the promoters, I think it was just the easiest thing. Oh, this guy's already like kind of like a bigger name. We can just pay him and just get him like going over and over on those events, just like cycle through with the same names. So it kind of took a while for me to break through that bubble. And when I did, it was because of like the work that I put also on the open tournaments, beating big names whenever I had the chance to, having really competitive matches with such big names. And yeah, that's definitely something that happens. Like I think right now, as everyone's doing a good job, a better job on promoting themselves, we're seeing that less and less. But still, there is some like favoritism when it comes to certain events, picking certain names. And I think there's like for seeing on their side, there's a couple things that they can say. Oh, this name doesn't bring as much viewers as this name. So that's when the transparency thing aligns because now, oh, let's see actually how many eyes these people bring. Let's see if it's the eye or if it's the name that brings eyes, or is it like how you build up the tournament that actually brings eyes? Because for me, the way I see it is if a tournament's big enough and does a good job on promoting, people will watch regardless. Whenever I'm watching UFC, I watch the prelims and I watch the fights before, and everyone else that is at the wing shop at the bar, they watch the same fights. They don't care. Like they're there, of course, to watch the main event at some point, but they're watching all those matches before. So every fight on a card is important, and it's important for every fighter on the card make sure that they receive the same attention and receive the same love. I'm not gonna say they're supposed to pay the same because each person brings certain value to the promotion, but everyone there did enough work to deserve to be there. So I don't think you're doing anyone a favor by just putting them on a card. If they're there, they're bringing some sort of value. That value price, I don't know. It can vary, of course. Like if you're a main card, you're definitely not gonna be as paid as like the prelim, but I think there's just like more ways to balance everything out and make sure that like we're recognizing everyone's work.
Yeah, I love it. I love your take on the business side of things. It seems like you have some really good mentors able to give you great advice because navigating the world in the sports scene of jiu-jitsu, it's in an embryonic state. And it's just like, I don't really know what my value is because people don't voice what they've been getting. And Craig Jones has even gone on podcasts and said that he's competed for free and that a big motivation for him is to be able to use his platform and help the future generations have a little bit of an easier time making an income from this sport, especially if you're giving your whole life to it. So I definitely tip my hat to both of you guys for really being on the forefront of this. And there's just so much news coming up with CJI. I know we're already at 34 minutes, so I want to get your take on a few current event hot topics that are coming out here. I see you follow Matthias Denise, and he is going to be competing in the under 80 kg division for CJI. How is that shit brick house of a man going to make it under 80 kilograms?
Yeah, that definitely was the biggest surprise on him joining the tournament because I think he was pretty open to do it. Like, a couple of the posts that Craig had done, he was always commenting, saying that he was in, that he was buying into the idea. But seeing him going minus 80 just, is going to be crazy. I'm eager to see how he's going to look on that weight day. But no, knowing Mateus, like I know him, like we talk, and he's a guy that like he puts in the work. So I think he'll be in great shape, but he definitely comes in as one of the favorites because for a guy on that size to drop to 80, and if he's able to be 88 next day or somewhere around that, he'll just be in a peak performance. It's just cool, like that's something exciting that people are getting excited about that's not even related to the fighting act, just like him dropping a weight. So it brings some eyes. He for 88 at ADCC, he actually already looks kind of small for what he walks around. So seeing him at 80 kilos is gonna be nuts. Like see how he's gonna look. I think the fact that weigh-in is gonna be a day before will help him a lot. But yeah, I want to see how he's gonna recover and like how he'll look on the Saturday.
And so it's been confirmed with all the fighters that the weigh-in is going to be the day before in just one day.
Not yet, but that's what I would think Craig will do. I don't see him doing three-day weigh-in or anything like that, and even more allow seeing Mateus dropping -80. I'm pretty sure he asked that question. So if I had to go with logic, I'll think probably the day before. Yes.
Yeah, that
And also,
definitely.
I think it helps. It helps as far as like promoting the event too. Like every event has been doing like a great job. Like we do the weigh-ins the day before is also a good chance for us to promote ourselves, talk a little bit of like a press conference. Maybe you'll be there. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
hopefully.
it'll
We'll
be great to
see.
answer some questions. Like get everyone fired up for the tournament. And man, the craziest thing is like people in jiu-jitsu, they are so used to the paywall that everyone still hasn't realized it's going to be on YouTube. The comments about, oh, when is it going to be, where is it going to be streamed, there's still a lot of comments like that are like, yeah, it's going to be open YouTube. So I actually look forward to see how uh, I believe there will be like if there's like a press conference on YouTube, see the viewing on that too. That will be interesting to see how many people will be watching the press conference, and like maybe double or four times, five times that number for the event.
Yeah, there definitely still needs to be a lot of education to the audience of where they can watch and just all the news that's coming up because I feel like it's so new for everyone. But it's awesome to know that you are going to be a part of it in that over 80 kilogram division. So obviously, I got to ask you, who's your favorite for the over 80 kg division? Obviously, I think your favorite is going to be yourself, but is there anyone else in there that's like, okay, that's a top competitor?
Yeah, if I have to pick, like, not a favorite, but if I have to pick somebody that I would like to go against on that bracket, I think it would be pretty interesting to go against John Gabriel Rocha. Like he's a big name. I've never faced him before. He looks in good form. He fought Pence, IBJJF, Nogi Pence not long ago. He won double gold. And, he still looks like he's in great shape. And another huge guy, so I'd love to, maybe get to face him. Another guy that I've been hearing good things about his grappling, and he's such a star in the martial art world, is Luke Rockhold. So I think that would be an interesting matchup. Just me, like I'm a massive guy. He's very explosive, and he's a big guy too. So I think it would be a good clash of styles, like a pure jiu-jitsu guy with a MMA guy that has a background in wrestling and is really aggressive. So I think that would be an interesting matchup too. That would bring a lot of eyes. I can see kind of like the stream, going crazy with the match. And yeah, maybe I don't know, like I can say who's gonna be there next, but maybe of a couple of the new names that comes in, it'll be no, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know, like, but from the names that are there right now, those are the two names that I'll kind of like be excited. I'll face anybody, but those guys I haven't faced them before, so I think it would be it would be very interesting matches.
Well, my last question for you is any advice that you have for people coming up in the jiu-jitsu scene? You're a guy who's been able to elevate his lifestyle by investing in other realms of jiu-jitsu, getting more into the marketing side, the business side. So what would your advice be for a grappler coming up in the competition scene?
I think it's like you can't forget that jiu-jitsu is an amazing tool for you to, build relationships, and I think you can't forget that. When you're on the mats, we're at a point where we're in a sport you have like what we call a pro practice, but you're still gonna catch a lot of jiu-jitsu high level athletes just doing regular class. So use those classes to build relationship. If you can build relationships, those people that are gonna be around you, they're gonna be watching you train. They're gonna be your biggest supporters. So of course, online, being a presence online is important. But if you feel like you're supported and like you feel the support the people that are around you, and that true support, it's priceless. Like somebody that can help you with something outside of the mats, somebody that can come in and give you like a good word. Sometimes they're successful in another area and they'll give you an advice that you can use on the mats, or even like position yourself outside of the mat. So jiu-jitsu is probably one of the greatest tools for you to build relationships. And if you look at today's world, everyone is doing jiu-jitsu. You have stars from Hollywood, you have CEOs from huge companies doing jiu-jitsu. So you never know who you're gonna meet at jiu-jitsu, but make yourself open to build relationships, get to know more the people that are sharing the mats with you, and I think that on the long run will pay off.
Thank you so much, Victor. If there's anyone that you want to give a shout out, teammates, sponsors, the floor is yours.
Shout out to this movement right here, Big Man Flow. Coming in strong in August and active in 10 days. 10 days we're active again. Looking for another win. Yeah, see you all there. If you have Flow Grappling, tune in and yeah, watch me in there.
This episode of Beast with Brains podcast is also available on Spotify. If you like this interview, you might also want to check out this one or our live chat coming up.